After World War I, most tanks had to make do with bulletproof armor that protected the crew only from certain stray shell fragments and, well, bullets. But the emergence of quite a few good light anti-tank guns in the second half of the 30s changed the rules of the game. Today, these 37 to 45mm cannons are considered pea shooters, but then it was a completely different story. Less doubts were cleared during the Spanish Civil War. As a result, all the main tank builders started working on their own heavier tanks that had shell-proof armor. That's how we got the Soviet KV, the British Churchill, and the German Tiger. Meanwhile, the American tank building industry was still at its infancy. Only in September of 1939 did they start working on a heavy 50-ton armored vehicle with anti-projectile armor. The new tank, that was called the T1 during the development phase and received the official designation of M6, but never engaged an enemy and soon disappeared from factories and army units alike. It wasn't a very good design. While having a similar mass to the Tiger, the American tank proved inferior when it came both to armor and firepower. Moreover, the designers believed that the only way to move these 50 tons of steel around the battlefield was with the help of a powerful 1,000 horsepower engine. Sounds good, huh? Well, you had to make room for such an engine, and that made this vehicle a bigger target. Long story short, the first heavy tank was not a success. In September of 1943, the Americans decided to have another shot at making a heavily protected armored vehicle now with a 105mm cannon. Despite its name, the T29 super heavy tank was more of a self-propelled gun. Yeah, it's a bit confusing. The vehicle that was designed to break through the enemy defenses turned out to be way too heavy, too cumbersome, and too late to see any actual combat. Finally, in the middle of 1944, the engineers built the T29, a heavy tank that was supposed to hunt the Königstiger. It mounted the same gun as the T28, but in a conventional rotating turret, which was really massive due to the size of the gun and the fact that it required two loaders to operate. It was a very interesting and in many ways a truly innovative design. For example, the tank included an advanced drivetrain that merged transmission, steering system, and brakes into a single unit. The T29 E3 variant also got a large coincidence rangefinder, forming the distinctive ears on the turret sides. The T29 concept had two more major variations, the T30, which was virtually the same vehicle but had a 155mm cannon, and the T34 heavy tank that mounted a 120mm gun. For its time, these were decent tanks, but the end of the war curtailed further development. These vehicles were simply way too big, heavy, and expensive to go into mass production. It was not all in vain though. The experience gained with the T-34 was invaluable in the development of other armored vehicles, like the M103.